Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here. We are almost over. The semester is almost gone. My mic is a little bit high here. Let's see if the sound is better now. I think it is, right? So this is our 14th week. So the next week will be the last one. And we are pretty much done. We have covered most of the material uh, we have planned to discuss. And now we have just to finish in a good tone. We want to uh, review some of the stuff we saw. We want to realize together how much this tools and this knowledge is being used in practice in real life. And we also want to give you some tips and advices if you want to work with behavioral economics. I know that Jaime Jr. here, he's almost done. I mean, he's already about to present his monograph, his final project in economics. But some of you have not reached that level yet. So you still have to work on your final project, monografia. So we're gonna spend some time over the next few hours, not only today, but the next week. We're gonna try and talk to you a little bit about how to set up behavioral experiments, how to make research in behavioral economics, okay? So this is gonna be fun. I think it's an opportunity you guys have today. We are going to have to be a little bit careful about the ethics of experiments, right? If we want to make experiments and those will involve humans, I mean people, then you're going to have to be especially careful so you don't cause any harm, any sort of discomfort or trouble to the people that get involved with your experiment, okay? All right, so let's start having a look at the exercise. I'm going to share my screen with you here. And let's see, I know that most of you did okay, but let's just check these answers, okay? So the first one is saying, having watched or at least heard about it, the film I, Daniel Blake, identify which of the statements below does not represent some of the issues considered in the story. Tendo assistido ou pelo menos ouvido falar sobre o filme Eu, Daniel Blake, identifique qual das afirmativas abaixo não representa alguma das questões consideradas na história. So the first one goes like this. Digital and technological transformations tend to be more easily managed by younger people. Well, you can see some of that there. You see that Daniel Blake is kind of an old guy, but this is not the real issue, right? This is not the big thing in the question. You can see it there, it's part of the film, but I mean, it's not the most important aspect of the film, but it is there, right? So this is not something that is not considered, right? So this is not the answer. We are looking for something that does not represent issues considered in the story. Second one, nets of social or community support are extremely important when people face personal crisis. Well, this is true, right? I mean, you can see that in the film. You can see how Daniel Blake and that young lady with her kid, how they get to relate and help each other, right, throughout the film. So yeah, we have to stop thinking that policy is to be designed only for one person. We have to realize that people somehow support themselves, and if you trying to reinforce or to sustain these nets of social support, that may be quite an effective way to help people, all right? The third one says, people don't take their job seriously and still don't get fired. Well, this is something that you can't see in the film, right? I mean, you see people being fired uh, sometimes not because of they did something wrong, but just because it's competition, it's market, and sometimes people get fired. But what we're saying here, that people don't get fired even if they do a poor job. Well, this is not the discussion, and you don't see that. So 87% of you realize that this is the correct answer for the question. This issue is not treated, it's not discussed in the situations of the film. Just to check, the last one, efforts towards increasing efficiency in public policy are welcome, but they must be sensible. Hey guys, check out this expression, sensible. Sensible, it's at the same time, it's a sophisticated expression, but it's also a common daily life. You use this word, sensible, and that means sensato in Portuguese. And I mean, this is a very good expression. But then again, the issue here is that uh, it is true, sometimes we have public policy trying to be more efficient, which means to spend less money and still get good results. And many times we fail to do that in an ethical and comprehensive and sensible way. So yes, this is one of the things that you can see in the film, right? Questions so far? All right, so, and in this one, 87% of you, 20 people got it right, just 3 people got it wrong. Let's have the second one. Having watched, or at least heard about it, the film I, Daniel Blake, identify which of the statements below does not correctly represent some of Blake's opinions, okay? Now we are not talking about issues treated or represented in the film, but we're talking about Blake's opinions. And we want to see that something that is odd, right? Something that is not representative of Blake's opinions. Okay, so let's have a look at the first one. Access to computers and online resources are quite often difficult for impoverished citizens. That is true. In Portuguese, we have this expression, inclusão digital. Well, that's a huge agenda in Brazil. We have to worry about that. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Many of you have difficulty to establish a good internet connection. Some of you miss classes because your internet is not working, your computer has to be shared with someone else. So yeah, we are not even talking about really impoverished poor people, right? We are talking about not exactly rich people, but we are not talking about people in the toughest conditions that we see in our country. So yeah, this is one of Blake's opinion. So it's not the correct answer. Second one, reaching out for help when a personal crisis hits is okay. Well, I think Blake's actually says that. And when he's trying to convince the young lady there, he tries to convince her, look, it's okay, you need help, you have had a very tough time, and I'm here to help. It's okay, it happens. Everybody needs help sometimes, right? So yeah, this is one of Blake's opinion too. The third one say, the deadline for granting social benefits cannot be extended to the point of making people starve. Now, this thing is saying that when you have to access social benefits, these things cannot go on forever on periods that will take so much time, right? People need their benefits. So Blake actually says that. He says, look, we can't keep going on. And even the expression, I, Daniel Blake, it's about a phrase that he actually writes down in the wall. Remember, he says, I, Daniel Blake, want my benefits before I starve. So even the title of the film confirms this Blake's opinion, okay? And the last one, which is probably the answer since the first three ones are not the correct answer. The fourth one, it's okay to be lazy and irresponsible in your community as long as everybody pay their taxes. Well, that's not an opinion that you see in the film. People work hard and still have a hard time. So we are not talking about laziness and irresponsibility, lack of responsibility. So this is not what the film is about. All right? 91% of you got it right. Just 2 people got it wrong in this case. So far, so good. Am I going too fast or too slow? If you think so, please write down something in the chat and I will have a look, okay? All right. So the third question. The term self-efficacy expresses one's trust on his or her capacity to learn and perform certain behaviors. So this is a definition, okay? It is not in question. I'm giving you here a definition of what self-efficacy means, right? So, which of the following situations best illustrates self-efficacy? O termo autoeficácia expressa a confiança da pessoa em sua capacidade de aprender e realizar determinados comportamentos. Qual das seguintes situações ilustra melhor a autoeficácia? First one. My daughter will not even try cooking a family meal because she thinks it's too easy. Wait. Self-efficacy is like when you trust that you can do, so you do it with pleasure, right? You do it without thinking twice. And here we are saying, no, my daughter thinks it's too easy. It's not attractive. So it's not about efficacy. It's not about capacity in this case. I know that many of you thought that this was the right answer, but it is not. I will come back to that if you want, but let's check the next one. Kids passionate about football watch, learn and imitate Neymar's dribbles. Os garotos apaixonados por futebol observam, aprendem e imitam os dribles do Neymar. Alright, so what gives kids the trust that they can do that? I mean, they're just playing for fun on the streets sometimes, but they do remember Neymar as being someone just like them, coming from a poor family, you know, having to struggle in order to get to a great team like Santos. So it's like someone like them. And it is true that people think, well, if Neymar could do that, maybe I should try that. I know some kids who get inspired by Neymar's story, and they try to imitate him, try to learn the tricks, learn the dribbles. So yeah, this is like trusting that you can do. That's why it is so important that people just like Neymar, they would realize how important they are to Brazil. I mean, they are symbols. They are people that can influence and somehow direct people to a better way, right? Unfortunately, most of Neymar's example in his personal life, they are not good examples at all. I mean, if you read the news about Neymar, all the time you hear about scandals and things to be ashamed. But anyways, so this one is the one about self-efficacy, right? I mean, celebrities, authorities, they have a larger responsibility because they can convince people to trust themselves. And that's one thing that we need more, right? Okay, so this was the right answer, but just to check, let's see the next two statements. Formula One drivers become more victorious by their third year of competition. Well, this is practice. This is not like I trust and then I will try to do something, right? I mean, this is someone that has spent his or her whole life driving cars. So it's like they are trying this for a very, very long time. This is experience. This is not self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is like, have you prepared omelette ever? And you say, no, I haven't. Well, would you try? And some people say, sure, I can try. Some other people say, no, I'm not gonna even try because I'm not good at cooking. Yeah, no, it's not my thing. Okay, so self-efficacy means more like you are inclined to try something, to trust that you could get a good result, even though you don't have lots of experience. Okay? And the last one states, people who publicly commit to dieting in a community, for example, they tend to have more success in losing weight. Okay, so here what we're talking about is the power of social norms, social image, how important we think it is other people's opinions. So if we care a lot about what people think of us, then you may end up using this as some sort of leverage in order to change. But this is not about trust on yourself, right? I mean, if you depend on someone else, if you rely so much in someone else's opinion, this is not self-efficacy, right? It's more like you don't trust yourself, so you're gonna commit to a larger public which will somehow watch you and make sure you do the right thing. So it's not like one's trust on his or herself. Okay? Questions for this one? This was a little tougher. I see that only 52 of you got it right, so this was probably the hardest question in the quiz, right? In the list. Let's go to the fourth one. The term collective efficacy expresses a group's trust on its own capacity to learn and perform articulated behaviors for a common objective. Which of the following situation best illustrates collective efficacy? O termo eficácia coletiva expressa a confiança de um grupo na sua capacidade de aprender e realizar comportamentos articulados para um objetivo comum. Qual das seguintes situações ilustra melhor a eficácia coletiva? So the first one says, it is easier to move faster if you are alone. Well, this is actually true, but this is not about collective efficacy, right? This is about one person making his or her own decisions. There is a phrase in Portuguese I like a lot. It goes like this. Se você quer ir rápido, vá sozinho. Se você quer ir longe, vá junto. So let's see in English. If you want to go fast, go alone, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together. Go with others, right? Go along with others. All right. So this one, it's not the answer because it is not about collective choices, okay? This is like you want to do something and you want to move faster, yes. The second one says, After a few victories under a new coach or supervisor, a team's confidence becomes an asset. Depois de algumas vitórias sob o comando de um novo técnico ou supervisor, a confiança de um time se torna um ativo importante. Guys, this is collective efficacy. Sometimes good sports teams like Flamengo, Palmeiras, Sport, Náutico, sometimes these guys, they trust so much on their success that they actually become invincible, right? I mean, if you are really, really sure that everything is gonna be okay, you are more daring, you are gonna trust your instincts, you're gonna try new things, you're gonna innovate sometimes. So it helps a lot. It can also harm you, right? But most of the times, a collective confidence, it helps a team to move along, right? So this was the right answer, okay? After a few victories under new coach, a team's confidence becomes an asset. So the team trusts the team, all right? So yeah, this is collective efficacy. The next one says, one single migratory bird does not indicate the arrival of a new season. Come on, this is a joke, guys. Uma andorinha só não faz verão? It means basically that some things you have to do together. I mean, we are not talking here about trust. We are not talking here about a collective confidence, a good agreement that will make people perform incredible tasks. This is not what is at stake here. We are just saying that some things you can do alone, but that's not necessarily related to this trust that a group has in itself, in its members, right? And the last one, early birds are the ones who get the worm. Os passarinhos madrugadores são aqueles que pegam mais minhoca. Well, guys, this is a say in English. It is true. Sometimes people have to be aware that coming first or being how do I say that? Atentos, paying attention to the opportunities. Well, it pays. If you get first there, if you are the first one to try to work in a company, you send your resume or your CV faster than others. Well, those are obviously advantages that you may have, but this has nothing to do with collective behavior, collective trust in a group in its members. Okay. All right, let's go to the fifth one. Now we're starting the true or false questions. Concerning health behaviors, poverty seems to impact both self-efficacy and collective efficacy. Guys, this is true, and this is a terrible knowledge. I mean, this is something that it pains to know. If people are poor, they lose trust on themselves and they lose trust on his groups. There's someone there with a microphone open. Can you guys hear? Let me see if I can close it. All right, I did. Okay, so let's go back. This is a very unfortunate truth, okay? Unfortunately, it's true. It turns out that people that are in poverty and they lose trust on themselves and they lose trust on their group. So it's hard to make changes. It's hard to make changes stick. So for example, if you go to a community, a poor community, and you explain to people about dengue mosquitoes, right? You tell them, look, you have to avoid water standing still nearby your house. You have to watch for these possibilities of reproduction of the mosquitoes, otherwise you're going to end up infected. So you explain to people, they do understand, but sometimes they don't trust either that they themselves will remember, or they don't trust that their neighbors will do the same. So it's hard to fight dengue in a poor community. If you ask people, if you talk to people, they know how to prevent mosquitoes, but they don't trust that people will articulate, they will work in coordination in order to solve the problem. And I mean, you need coordination to solve such a problem. You can't do it by yourself. So this is a terrible truth, but it is true. Okay? All right. Sixth one. Poverty can blunt people's capacity to expect better days and to take advantage of opportunities that do show up. A pobreza pode obstruir a capacidade das pessoas de esperar dias melhores e de aproveitar as oportunidades que aparecem. Yes, unfortunately, once again, that it is true. I mean, it is not always true, but it's most likely to be true than not, okay? The majority of times, yes, poverty will harm people's expectations about the future, about better days in general, okay? Yes, so we have to somehow be wise to create hope, but not illusion, right? If you want to impact, create policies to reduce poverty and to help people out of poverty, yes, you need to somehow bring hope, but you have to be very careful so that the hope will not turn in frustration, and then the next time you come, people think of you as someone that is just bringing illusions. All right? Question 7. Understanding behavior and identifying effective interventions are complex and iterative processes. Compreender o comportamento e identificar intervenções eficazes são processos complexos e interativos. What we mean is that you're not going to learn the first time. You're going to have to fail, try again, and then you're going to succeed. That's how you actually end up having good interventions. But there's a problem with this dynamics. Please pay attention to this, guys. In Brazil, if you fail, people punishes you. People will punish you if they evaluate you and they think that you got poor performance. You may not even have another chance. So in public policy, many times people try something out. It doesn't go perfect. They just drop it. And they try something different, something new. And they keep doing that and they don't learn, right? So mayors and state governments, these guys implement different sorts of policies, and sometimes you may perceive that they don't learn. They try again and again, same things, because they don't stop and evaluate how good or well, how bad your results actually are, what went wrong in each case, and how you could improve upon previous experiences. All right? So this is a big problem, and it is true. Question 8, true or false? In the case of home water chlorination, a single intervention was enough to promote a complete transformation of communitary behaviors. Come on, guys, look at this. What it's saying is that, no caso da cloração de água domiciliar, uma única intervenção foi suficiente para promover a transformação completa dos comportamentos comunitários. That's not what we saw. What we saw in class was that you had to try 20 different actions. You had to articulate different interventions in order to have a decent response in this sort of policy framework. So it is not one silver bullet. Não existe uma bala de prata. You're going to have to try and achieve your goal from different angles and perspectives. Otherwise, you're going to keep trying, and each time you try something different, and all of them are incomplete. So, yeah, this is not the point. We have to be strategic in designing intervention and try to reach as many points of impact as possible. All right. So, the ninth one. The brain of a child that undergoes significant periods of toxic stress clearly displays underdeveloped neural connections. O cérebro de uma criança que passa por períodos significativos de estresse tóxico exibe claramente conexões neurais subdesenvolvidas. All right, 100% of you got it right, this one. Yeah, this is true. Let me just explain to you guys that this is not talking about poisoning. We are not talking about toxic chemicals. We are talking about toxic stress. So it's like if you see on very early days in your life, if you see and participate in episodes of violence, of tension, lack of food, lack of money, lack of decent sleep, no good housing, if you go through this on your first 2 or 3 years of life, there's a good chance that your brain will not be fully developed. And this is terrible. This is desperating evidence, right? And evidences like this were very hard to be collected. It turns out that a Nobel Prize in economics was given to James Heckman, which is an economist who basically studied the connections between early life experiences and professional success, careers, money, and how well people did in life depending on how poor conditions he had on his or her first few years, right? So yeah, early childhood is a big issue because we're kind of sacrificing people's futures in the first 2 or 3 years. All right, and the last one says, poverty by itself does not affect or increase inequality. A pobreza por si mesmo não afeta nem aumenta a desigualdade. That is false. Why is this false? Because poverty reproduces itself. Poverty creates the elements, the aspects, the factors to avoid people's successes, to prevent people from developing. So this 10th statement is actually a consequence of the 9th one. If poverty will affect a child's brain development, then poverty actually affects inequality because it makes the field not competitive, right? I mean, it's not a leveled field. If you were born in a family with all the conditions and someone else is born in a family without those conditions, 15, 20 years later, obviously competition will not be fair, right? Okay. Questions about this? Let's see how you guys did. I see that about 5, almost 10 of you got it 9 or 10. Lots and lots of 8s, 6 or 7 of you. And then you have 8 people scoring 7 points out of 10, and just 1 people scoring a low grade, but probably because he or she could not dedicate some time to the class before answering the questions, okay? All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing this screen here, and then let's move to our next task at hand. Oh yes, we are going to talk a little bit about the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So let me share with you a different material here. First of all, let me give you the link, right? So you guys can download the class notes. So I'm going to put it here in the chat. In a few seconds. There we go. Aplicar. Copiar link. Copiar. All right. So please confirm to me that you guys can see in the chat right now a link to download the class notes. I have just sent it. Can you guys see there? Please thumbs up there for me. All right, thanks, Jaime. Tomás, obrigado. Vinícius, thank you guys. Elisete, Marcelo, Misael. All right, so if you have these class notes now, I can share my screen here and we can go over it together. All right, can you guys see the same thing that you downloaded a few minutes ago? Okay, so please let me know if something goes wrong here, okay? All right, so we're going to be talking about this very short text that I shared with you. And this guy, Ivan Nesterek, he is part of this portal, this platform, Behavioral Scientists. And he wrote this small piece talking about the UN Behavioral Science Week. Wait, what? Was that an event? Yeah, that was like a whole week in which United Nations professionals and some people they invited, they basically discussed behavioral science, behavioral economics, and how to design interventions. So they are on the same page that we are. And I'm going to try to show you that in a few very brief moments here. All right, so the first thing to draw your attention to, it is that they are talking about this guidance note on behavioral science. So it's like the UN, the United Nations, decided to write down a number of advices and resources so that UN agencies all over the world will try behavioral economics, behavioral science in their daily efforts to reach UN's goals, right? Not only sustainable development goals, but they basically are saying, we want all UN agencies, departments, employees, we want all of you to be, in a certain way, experts in behavioral science. So it's a huge change if you think about it, right? I mean, this is the most important multilateral institution in the world. And these guys are saying, yeah, we adopt fully behavioral economics or behavioral sciences now, right? The second thing is that they say, let's have a look at the Sustainable Development Goals from a behavioral economics perspective. And as they do that, they basically had the chance to bring back those 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Let's have a quick look at it, and then I'm going to emphasize a few of them some of them, a few of them, just to make sure that we see some examples, okay? So the first development goal is no poverty. Well, this is a very hard goal, right? But if you have to aim high, well, poverty is basically the greatest tragedy of our times, right? The second one, which is related to poverty, zero hunger. This is also something very difficult to accomplish, but we have ways to do. The third one, good health and well-being. We are in the middle of a pandemic, and somehow we have to help people to get their shots, right? Fourth one, quality education. Fifth one, gender equality. Sixth one, clean water and sanitation. Guys, look at this. Brazil is not a poor country. We cannot say that Brazil is a poor country, but clean water regularly offered to most people, this is not Brazilian reality. We're still far from that. We have to discuss water more in Brazil. And somehow we think that many other things are important, and we don't actually look at that. So I hope next few years we're going to talk a little bit more about clean water, for example, with economists, right? You guys raise your hand here if you have heard in your course in economics, no seu curso de economia da rural, how many times you guys have heard about water, the water problem in Brazil, water shortage, quality of water, provision of water to communities. Don't you guys have the same impression that I do, that we don't discuss that enough, right? We talk about money, we talk about capital, we talk about investment. Yeah, those things are pretty much important. We talk about food, we talk about food production a lot, but somehow water we still take for granted. We think it is there. Yeah, when we need it, we just go, raise your hand and take it. And it's not like this. We're going to have to work on water, on how we use it, how we keep it, how we plant it, right? But then again, this is a good topic for next time. Affordable and clean energy, decent work. All right, so you guys have seen before those 17 sustainable development goals, right? Let me give you emphasis to some of these goals and some behavioral policies that have been established to help accomplishing those goals, okay? So the first one here, no poverty. Well, somehow you have to reach out and help people to save money. It is not like someone is poor, he or she has never had money. It turns out that when they have money, they have extreme difficulty to save money. They either have to spend it immediately, or they don't have adequate mechanisms to help them save. So savings allow people to observe potential shocks and make investments in the future. Yet, many people struggle to save money. Saving models combining reminders, goal settings, and commitment mechanisms. Oh, wait, yeah, I remember we talked about that here in this class. We talked about that in commitment devices, remember? Well, those have to make saving easier. In other way, it has to be more convenient, easier to remember, and more present in people's daily lives, right? So this is behavior economics. The second one, just to have a look here, okay? Zero hunger. In order to help people make nutritious food choices, you have to help them making healthy options, easily and identifiable. So many people do not have access to sufficient and nutritious food, but sometimes convenient access to healthy food, and clear nutrition labeling can help people make healthy food choices and improve their nutrition. Let me tell you something, guys. In Brazil, we are just about to approve new laws about labels on how we express the nutritious values of food. And if everything goes according to plan, we're going to have a much more salient pattern of labeling. So it's not going to be so much technical information. We're going to use more colors and symbols that will be easily identified and saying, come on, this popcorn here is extremely bad for my health. And this orange juice here, yeah, this one is the big deal. This is the real deal. This is not artificial stuff, all right? So we're going to try and help people to make better choices when they purchase food. This is just about to happen here in Brazil, okay? I'm not going to talk about all of these things, but here and there. Again, let's have a look at clean water and sanitation. Promote water purification by making chlorine directly available at water sources. Guys, listen to me, please. We have like almost half of people here in our city who don't get water every day from como é o nome da companhia de água daqui? Fugiu agora, Celpe de Energia, Compesa, right? So we have almost half of our population don't get water every day from Compesa. What they do, sometimes they purchase water, caminhão tanque, sometimes they start their own wells. So we have lots and lots and lots of irregular wells. As pessoas cavam seus próprios poços e tiram água do subsolo. Okay, Luiz, what's your problem with that? Well, the problem is that if this water is not treated, and you have lots and lots of people starting their own wells, it's just a matter of time until this water is polluted. And it probably is already, right? In many, many places. So people are poisoning themselves and poisoning their children because they have no choice. We have to bring water treatment as a policy priority in places like Recife. This is a big deal. We are talking about zoonosis, we're talking about children with diarrhea, we're talking about older people getting sick more often. Water is a big deal for health promotion, okay? And this should be a more important agenda in a place like Recife. Do you guys agree? Or maybe you think I'm exaggerating? Okay. So just to finish, why we have to have a look at this Behavioral Science Week? Well, you can check on YouTube and you can watch Nobel Prize winners talking one more time about behavior economics, but also about how behavior economics can help development, helping out poor people, poor countries, okay? So they're basically discussing how we can use these tools to to prevent poverty reproduction, to make people's lives better, and so on. Okay, you can watch. Those happened like 1 week ago, so you can have a look at these videos. They are very fresh. You see that these guys are like you and me. they are stuck in their homes. We are in the middle of a pandemic, so I mean, the whole world is at the same boat. And finally, as a suggestion, the author of this piece, Ivan Nesterek, he suggests that you can be a part of UN Behavioral Science Group. You can participate as an observer. So if you check out this address here below, you can fill in a form, and basically you're gonna be communicated of they're gonna let you know about any events. They're gonna send you publications, free ones. You can learn about things that are happening in your country, in your region, and you can kind of follow their job. All right. So yeah, this is a science group in which you have access. All of us could have access, at least for this knowledge, as it is developed. Okay? All right. So let me stop here. I think we went far enough. And let me just say what it is to come. Okay? Next week is our last one. So the first thing is to remember that we will still have one more list of exercises. Okay? The last one, it will have like 20 questions, but the majority of them will be repeated. I will pick questions up from different lists, from the 7 first lists, and then I'm gonna choose the best ones, the ones that I think touches the most important issues, and then we can have together this sort of revision of the whole course. All right? I'm gonna post those by this Sunday, and you guys will have till next Friday. Okay? So you're gonna have like 6 days to work on them. All right? And I will give you a reminder too. I'm going to try and give you a reminder earlier, because today I gave you a reminder when it was like 5:25, 5:35 or something like this. So you had like 25 minutes head start, right? Yay, hey, look, 25 minutes ago. I think next week I'm gonna come at 5 and say, hey guys, you still have 1 hour to work on those exercises. Let's see if it works better. All right, the second thing we're gonna have next time and throughout this week, we're gonna talk about how to design experiments. There is this manual I'm gonna share with you, a manual, a very simple one. I mean, this is intuitive. This is not technical stuff, but it goes over the most important aspects on how you design behavioral experiments, okay? It's good material, and we're going to be talking about those throughout the week. And I will also do something else. By Friday, I'm going to bring to class some examples of some colleagues of you. Okay, I'm going to bring here monografias from people who actually finished their course before you, previous semesters, and show you how they managed to perform behavior economics experiments. So we have this already here in our university, and I'm going to show them to you, okay? At least 2 examples. One of them is about how people make choices when they purchase usual stuff like rice or candies or things like this, sodas and things like that. So it's more like how people make choices at the shop. And the second one is about how you have this thing called digital influencers, right? Some people who actually receive the products and then they talk about the products online, and sometimes you can trust their opinions, sometimes you can't. And then we kind of had a look at it. I mean, I didn't. The student had a look at it, and basically she was investigating how much of a friend the digital influencer actually is. How much of a friend, or if he's just someone trying to make a sale. All right? So how persuasive these people are in order to get you to purchase a product, or if they are actually trying to help you and say, look, this is not good for you, but it may be good for certain people. How honest they actually are with their public. In both cases, we did those studies using behavior economics. All right? So next week, I'm gonna bring them here, bring their works here actually, and try to discuss them with you. All right? How does that sound? Sounds good?
Tá ótimo, professor.
Obrigado, Thalia. Misael. Então tá bom, pessoal. Essa é a nossa última semana, né? Então é o último exercício. Eu vou pedir a todo mundo que tenha uma atenção especial para fazer o exercício. Se tiver dúvida, me procure. E eu acho que todo mundo vai passar. Mas se alguém não passar nessa segunda VA, aí me procure. A gente vai fazer provinhas especiais na outra semana. Mas, mais uma vez, as provas nossas nunca vão ser estressantes nem pesadas. Sempre bilíngue, o mesmo padrão, tá ok? All right, everybody. That's what I had for you. But, yeah, go ahead and ask.
Você tá me escutando?
Tô te ouvindo bem, Carlos, pode falar.
Então, essa semana vai ser a última semana, hoje, no caso. Ou semana que vem tem mais uma aula, que eu não entendi direito.
Não, então, vamos lá. No domingo agora, eu vou postar a última lista de exercícios. Ela vai ser um pouquinho mais longa, mas a grande maioria das questões vai ser questões repetitivas, né? Questões que a gente já passou em outras listas, mas aí a gente faz uma espécie de uma revisão geral, tá?
Beleza.
Tá, isso no domingo eu vou colocar a lista. Ao longo da semana eu vou gravar mais um videozinho e mandar para vocês esse material sobre como desenhar experimentos de economia comportamental. E na sexta que vem, nós vamos ter uma última aula em que a gente basicamente vai falar sobre dois modelos de monografia, duas monografias que colegas de vocês fizeram há alguns semestres atrás e que eles ou usaram economia comportamental em geral ou até realizaram experimentos de economia comportamental. Então, vai ser uma aula um pouco mais leve, a gente não vai ter novos conceitos, vai ser só para quem tem interesse, principalmente, em fazer monografia com economia comportamental, ver que não é um bicho de 7 cabeças.
Tá bem, tá certo. Obrigado, professor.
Nada, Carlos. All right, guys. Any other question? Morgana? Elisete?
Oi, professor. Desculpa o atraso. Eu cheguei tarde do trabalho.
Não se preocupe, tá gravando, daqui a pouquinho eu posto lá para vocês, aí você assiste inteiro, tá bom? Ok, pessoal, então eu vou interromper aqui a nossa gravação e, como de costume, vou ficar por mais uns minutinhos. I will interrupt here, stop our recording,